And could you start off by saying your name and what do you write?
My name is Nicholas Cole, and I write post-apocalyptic fiction, but I also write a genre that I'm going to go ahead for everybody right now and say this is what it's called. It's called MMO-punk, and that's MMO-punk, and probably the most famous novel that everybody know that's MMO-punk would be Ready Player One. And I wrote a novel called Soda Pop Soldier, and it's a noir detective fiction novel set inside a video game. So I tell people it's Call of Duty meets the seedier side of Las Vegas meets World of Warcraft.
Already there are just so many trigger words right there that is just getting me so excited. But MMO-punk is by far my favorite term at this point. I love MMO-punk.
There are novels that, like if you go back and you look at like Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose, that to an extent, because it's a maze, that was video games back then. Go get lost in the maze, and then we invented Dungeons and Dragons, and that was go get lost in the maze, and then we invented World of Warcraft, and it was go get lost in the maze. So MMO-punk has been around for a while.
Or in my case, touch the stupid egg that explodes all the dragons, and then you die because you're too low level.
Exactly.
So that was mine. So I know you have a military background.
Yes.
On this one. Can you tell us how you used your experiences in writing your books?
Well, military people, whenever they read things or they watch things, they're always looking for accuracy and authenticity. So you want to get all your terminology right, and so there are many books and things that can teach you the difference between magazines and rifles and cannons and the military flair. Thankfully, one of the side products that we've had with all these wars is you have a lot of veterans that are now informing Hollywood, and so there is a dissemination of fairly correct terminology. It's still Hollywooded up, and you're still going to get that crusty old veterans like, they didn't salute right, but that's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. But for me, what I want to do, Soda Pop Soldier is filled with large battle sequences. Like if you play the game Call of Duty, think of Call of Duty meets Battlefield, but with 5,000 players all shooting at each other. So the important thing is you don't want to turn it into just run and gun and tag with guns. You want tactics and you want all these things. So what I try to do, as I was trained as a small unit leader, is bring tactics to that with a military flair and a lot of strategy, as opposed to, you don't want to totally make it 20. I love 24. You don't want to make it 24. Because that's not how wars and battles are fought. But they're fought as a team, not as Conan. And I love Conan.
So since you mentioned Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Are you an avid player of Call of Duty? Do you like this type of games? How do you kind of mesh your military experience with video game tactics?
Well, my gamer tag is perfect question. And that means to be. I was an actor too. That means to be or not to be. It is. I think the quintessential metaphysical question is, are we going to be or not be? So that's my gamer tag. I game on Xbox One, so you can find me. Right now I'm actually playing Battlefield Hardline. I'm really excited about Fallout. I know. I just told my wife, I said, yeah, December's canceled. I'll be doing that because I'll have reached like a fever pitch by the end of November. It comes out in early November, so we should just write December off. But
There'll be like no traffic.
Yeah.
Like no accidents.
But to write Soda Pop Soldier, what I did is I took a year off every other game, and I played Call of Duty, not Black Ops 2. Which one did I play? I played not Advanced Warfare, the one before that. I played it for a year straight, and I tallied up my kills. I think that was just Modern Warfare. I think that was just Call of Duty 3. Yeah, it was Call of Duty 3. They're blending together. Infinity Ward. They're starting to blend. And one of the funny things that came out of that is I learned, as you get older as a male, your reflexes slow down. So I don't have that 15-year-old monkey twitch, run, jump, hop, spin, shoot you with a sniper rifle, quick scope, knife a guy, and toss a C4. I'm not there yet. So old dogs have to learn new tricks. And my new trick was I took the crappy infrared scope, and I took the biggest machine gun, and wherever I thought anyone was, I just hosed that area. And I got kills like no tomorrow. And at the end of that year, I had 15,000 kills. So like, and there's a moment where you kind of step back and you're sitting and you're like, I just killed like 15,000 digital units, but I did kill 15,000 people. And no, I don't want to run out to a public place and start shooting people. I've never had that. So that's a stupid argument. But it's interesting. You're like, oh, I just killed like 15,000, you know. And so I just spent, but if you're going to write something about video gaming and modern warfare, you better know what you talk about. That's why the book like Ready Player One is so wonderful, because the guy writes from experience and depth of knowledge, and we have that, and that's what you're like, oh, I remember Temple of Elemental Evil and Horror on the Hill, and Joust especially. So you got to do those things. You can't just write about those things. And always the danger sometimes in writing is that when someone gets hot, when someone writes boy wizards, everybody's suddenly writing boy wizards, and you get people who are just writing it because they want to make a buck, not people who spent a year playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great research, to be honest. I would love that research just to play for 1 year. Exactly. Call of Duty.
I grant you the right to research for it.
Yes.
Exactly.
You kind of mentioned before about like people who are military, kind of like spot on. What is the most annoying thing that you're always reading? You're like, that's not how it is. Like, it just gets under your skin when someone tries to write something with a military influence.
You know, lately it hasn't been anything super technical. In fact, I notice now, you know, soldiers who are soldiering now, I soldiered a few years back, they hold their weapons differently, and I actually see it and I go, oh, that's a pretty smart way to hold your weapon. It's more like whenever you have the sort of quote-unquote leader, and they always use this phrase, okay, listen up, people. And it's so done to death, and it grates on me, and you know some writer is like, that's what they would write, and it's like, it's not that way. It's actually military. There are two types of military leaders. There are your NCOs, and they are usually very colorful. And in fact, that's what Halo nails. Halo nails your NCOs. And then most officers are very low key, and they don't even give you a lot of direct orders. They give those through the NCOs. So this sort of listen up, people, pedantic thing. It's play. I'd like to see somebody come in and just like flop down in a chair and be like, oh man, we gotta go take that hill. I don't even want to do it. Does anybody else know? I'd like to just see somebody come out and be less pedantic. So, you know, the pedantic, and it's, unless you've served in it, I mean, in the military, you just know that not everybody's, all right, listen up, people, and it's, and they don't call you people because you're not people.
No,
yeah. Yeah.
I had a thought, and I'll just go back into it later. In terms of, because there's a lot of video game reference, of course. Would this be almost alien to people who don't play those type of games? Would they get a little bit lost in the book for soda pop?
That was my fear, and I did totally write it for the video gaming audience. But I've actually had a lot of, it's at heart noir fiction. So if you know noir fiction, that's like the classic detective story, Raymond Chandler, The Big Sleep. True Detective would be something that's like. They were able to relate with it on that level, but here's really the thing. We're all playing games now. We're all playing Farmville. We're all playing Words with Friends. My wife is playing, yeah. I don't play that. You know, like the greatest meme right now is the jock who's like, why do those nerds play D&D? And my fantasy football team is almost, we're all playing games too. And everybody can kind of enjoy it, and it's something that's there. And the thing you don't want to do as a writer is make everything dumb and assume like, well, people don't get it or whatever. No, people play games now. People are smart. My mom plays games, you know, and this was the person who forbid me from playing Dungeons and Dragons, and now she plays games. So we're all gaming now. Yeah.
Everyone's playing some sort of game at this point.
And if you don't game, then don't read. Yeah.
Who or what can you say is your major influence in your writing?
I would say, you know, not to, and this is the part where the writer, you know, don't think that I write like these people, but Joseph Heller is a big one for me, Catch-22. Kurt Vonnegut, obviously, the modern writer. Because of the style that I write in, and because I come from a post-apocalyptic background, I wrote the book The Old Man and the Wasteland, I like Cormac McCarthy a lot. But he's one of those guys that elicits in everybody, like, I love him, I hate him. You know, and I'm one of those people who loves him, and if I could write like him. What I do now is just cross out all the punctuation, and I'm like, I write like Cormac. No, I don't do that, but his just gift is awesome. And so those are the people that really, the modern writers that I really like right now are like people like David Mitchell. I think David Mitchell is good, and I'm a really big fan of a Spanish writer called Arturo Perez Reverte.
So am I.
Yeah.
Did you manage to reread that? I saw that you want to reread it.
No, because I'm reading The Siege now.
Oh,
but
okay.
I would easily go back and reread. I would reread The Club Dumas. I would read Queen of the South again. I would read The Fencing Master. I would read a little-known novel that he had that's a fun Tales of the Sea novel, which is the nautical chart.
Oh, right.
And then The Fencing Master, and then all the 15th century Spain duelist novels. So I like I like Spanish stuff. You know, go figure. I'm an Irish guy.
A couple more questions.
Sure.
The title's Soda Pop Killer, and I think I saw
Soda Pop Soldier.
So I'm sorry, Soda Pop Soldier.
Soda Pop Killer is probably going to be the sequel.
Oh, well, there you go.
Right now.
Yeah. Is there some sort of hatred towards the soda industry?
This is okay. So the best thing that you can get out of Comic-Con is inside stuff. Okay, so I came here 3 years ago with a novel called The Wasteland Saga, and it was a 3-part novel, and it was The Road meets The Old Man and the Sea. It was post-apocalyptic meets literature. So, and it did well. And I had another book in my contract, and so my editor then, she said, let's go have a drink. And I was pretty sure I was about to get fired unless I could come up with something good. And so we sat down and had a purple superhero-themed drink over here at the Marriott. And I gave her all my best ideas that I knew were going to get me the standard rich and famous contract. And she shot all of them down. And I was like, huh, she does want to fire me. So then my wife, who's beautiful, smart, and intelligent, and is an opera singer, she said, you know, you wrote that Space Marine novel. And she thought it was a space, and I said, yeah, I did. And my editor said, well, we always buy Space Marine. It always sells. And I'm like, okay, well, and she goes, well, what's the title before you even tell me what it's about? And I said, it's called Soda Pop Soldier. And I liked it because it's a poppy name, because in the future you play video games for corporations. They finance your team. So he plays for Cola Corp, so he's Soda Pop Soldier. And when I said Soda Pop Soldier, she just said, we'll take it. She didn't even say, like, she just knew the title popped. So
All with a purple soda.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you kind of reminded me, I know you were influenced by Old Man and the Sea.
Right.
I have not had the pleasure of reading that. What is it about it that really speaks to you?
The thing that, and I'm so glad that you are honest, you know, but that's the best time. See, we're all exposed to the Old Man and the Sea when we're 16 and 17 years old, and we don't think life is anything but win, 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 win. And The Old Man and the Sea is an excellent novel to read at about 29, when you may still be living in your mom's basement, you didn't get the Audi. It's basically when your life isn't Friends, that's the time to read Old Man and the Sea. Because what it's about that you're going to get kicked around by life, and it's going to be tough, and it's not over until you decide it's over. So we have this fisherman named Santiago, and no one in the fishing village will fish with him. And he's old. And that's what The Old Man in the Wasteland is about. He's an old salvager. And he's only had this one copy of his book after a nuclear war for 40 years. So the character in the book, The Old Man in the Sea, has become very real to him, to the fact that it's his friend. And so in the book, The Old Man in the Sea, he goes out by himself and he catches a big fish, and the fish drags him farther and farther away. And he keeps saying, should I give up and go home? And he's like, I can't give up, because then I'm worthless. And it's his whole struggle to find meaning in what he does. And you know what? When you're after college, that's kind of what life is about. You're like, oh, it didn't all work out. And you want to give up, but I just encourage everybody, don't give up. Yeah, you might have to do a crappy job you don't want to do. That doesn't mean that 5 years from now you're not going to be doing the job of your dream. I waited a lot of tables. I was an opera, which is like it's like Scum in opera. I did background in Hollywood, which is like the scum on the bottom of the scum's feet. You know, like one time I worked on an Eddie Murphy film. I'm not kidding. They fed me bread and water.
That's it?
That's it. They said there's some dry cereal over there for breakfast. I went over there and they had an orange Caltrans jug of water to put in your cereal. So I've done like terrible, awful, I did construction and all these kinds of things, but I got to eventually get to doing what I love, thanks to God, which was I get to be a writer. So you learn from the old man in the sea. Keep fishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more. What are your future projects, and how can people follow you along on your journey?
They can follow me along. I'm at Nick Cole Books on Twitter and nickcolebooks.com, and then I'm on Facebook, and Facebook is all about faces, so you'll not forget this face. My next project is the prequel. A lot of Soda Pop Soldier ended up getting a Publisher's Weekly starred review. It did really well, and so but people wanted it's a big dystopia, so people wanted some explanations about, they wanted to know more, and they wanted more. So what we did is we went back and we wrote a prequel, and that one is going to be, I would tell people, that's Evil Dead meets Star Trek meets Magnum PI.
Did you say Evil Dead?
Yeah,
I'm already sold. I'm looking for Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's Night of the Living Dead meets Terminators, and so it's kind of a fun thing that we do. And
just dropping all these trigger words that is like, I'm going to just read these.
I know. I'm like a rap star. I'm dropping trigger words like my homies. So.
And then, this is the favorite question I've been asking a lot of people. A lot of people always ask, what kind of advice would you give, and da-da-da-da. Instead, what are the don'ts for people who are writing?
The don'ts, the hard and fast don't is, and this is, I won't give you the platitudes of stay true to yourself, don't give up, that's your choice. We're all going to go on whether you give up or you don't, but I would say don't. One of the big things is, and this is a new thing, and it's a wonderful thing, and I came out of the digital movement because I was an indie first, and I sold about 80,000 copies of The Old Man and the Sea, and then HarperCollins picked me up, and it was a big success. But with the digital movement now, you can write a novel, and a week later you can publish it. And I would say don't do that. I would say that you need to put it in a drawer for 2 weeks, and you need to edit it. And then I would say that you need to put it in a drawer for 2 weeks, and you need to edit it. And you need to sit out in your yard, your backyard, and you need to go over it and over it. And then you need to perform it like I would say listen to Stephen King novels, listen to Stephen King novels, and learn how to perform the novel with that level of expertise. And what you're doing is you're getting tone and voice and candor, and you're making it a conversational novel. Now, with this wonderful economic downturn that we've had, that's horrible. But you can avail yourself of many trained publishing professionals who will edit your novel that you'll have to pay them, whereas the publishers used to have to pay them. So in essence, do everything that big publishing does to make a perfect novel, because you get, and here's the sad part, you get one chance. And if you don't know there, you're going to turn people off, and they're out. For all the editing I did on that first novel, I still managed to spell decision wrong, and I read that novel out loud 27 times.
Wow.
And I still spelled decision every time wrong. It's just some things are in your hard drive. Yeah.
Totally
so you need extra fresh eyes, you need to go over it, and so that's what I would just say is, it's a piece of art, take your time to get it right.
Thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us. Thank you very much.